But Jerusalem is now trampled by the Gentiles. And it's going to remain that way until the rapture of the church, when the bride of Christ is taken out, when we are taken out of the area. And so the bride of Christ is taking up. Then the false Messiah, the Antichrist, will be revealed at that moment. Okay? The Antichrist will be revealed at that moment. But until that moment, many false messiahs will appear. Now, these are not cult leaders. These are not people like, I remember back in the 90s, people would say, oh, all these Jesus, these kind of cult Jesus people that said, I'm Jesus. That's what the scripture is talking about. It's like, no, this is not what that scripture is talking about. This is talking about people in Israel who are respected people, who are political leaders that believe they are Messiah. They believe that. Just like now they have this rabbi that they say he's the Messiah. Just like they thought Trump was the Messiah. And there's other people that think maybe he's the Messiah. Because whoever helps them build the temple will be the Messiah. But we know that what's going to happen is that a peace treaty will be negotiated. They'll be allowed to build the temple. But 3.5 years into the agreement, into the treaty, this false Messiah will break the treaty. And he'll stop temple sacrifices from happening. And he will, and what I believe is going to happen is that he's going to declare the temple as like, hey, wait a minute. I helped you build this temple. I made this whole deal come to pass. And this isn't a temple just for the Jews. This is a beautiful place. This is a house of prayer for all nations. That's what your book says, right? It's a house of prayer for all nations. So everybody should have a room in the temple. The Buddhists should have a room. The Muslims should have a room. The Hindus should have 100 rooms because they have 100 gods. Everybody should have their own room in the temple, and you just bring all your statues in here and worship here in the temple. And I should have a statue in here because I'm the one that put this all together so people can worship me. And the Jews are not going to do this. They're going to say, no way will that ever happen. And that's referred to as the abomination which brings desolation. And that term is a specific term. It has a historical meaning because it goes back to Antiochus Epiphanes, who went into the temple when he conquered Jerusalem, and he took a pig and he slaughtered it on the altar of prayer in the holy place. He didn't go into the Holy of Holies and do it, but he went into the holy place and he slaughtered a pig, and he brought a statue of Zeus into the temple and defiled the temple. That is known as the abomination which brings desolation. And so when we see that term in Daniel chapter 9, it has a historical meaning to the Jewish people. They would know exactly what that means. And that would tell them exactly what this false Messiah is going to do, that he's going to bring in idolatry into the temple. And they're going to say, no way. It's going to set the ground for an international war. It'll be the final world war where all the nations of the world will gather against Israel we've talked about this in the valley referred to as Har Megiddo, the valley of Megiddo or Armageddon. And they'll march on Jerusalem, and they will once again seek to destroy the Jewish people once and for all and get rid of the Jewish problem.